Hi, it's John Galante with AE Ventures here at the Tech Home Builder and Housing Transformation Summit. Today we're going to take a closer look at OliverIQ, and I'm joined by Glen Mella, who I believe your title is Chief Revenue Officer, and Bryan Koutosky, nailed it, who is heading up sales and marketing in every respect that I can see, at least. So guys, thanks for coming and spending some time, for participating at the event. Your venture is relatively new. I think your coming out party was somewhere around the time that we produced our last event in Phoenix, had a big show at CES, and I think you're to market and shipping actual product, if not, you could clarify on that. It's coming soon. But I'd like you to share a little bit about the background of the founding team, because I think it's important for our builder audience to know about. So talk to me a little bit about that for starters.
May I start? So Glen Mella, we are the former operators and leaders of Control4 in kind of the high-end automation space. Yep. I was president and chief operating officer of that company, which we actually started 21 years ago. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, where does the time go?
23 years for Tech Home Builder, believe it or not.
Bryan, wait, your name's not Koutosky? Bryan Koutosky wore many hats, but most of the time he and I worked together. He was our leader in our retail relationships, but also worked in Builder, and Bryan will fill that in other channels. So we and our leaders at OliverIQ, Will West and Eric Smith, who are really the co-founders, and we're the co-founders of Control4, have deep experience in the automation space.
Right.
We like to tell people we know where some of the landmines are buried.
Sure.
And the industry's changed a lot in 20 years, and that'll be part of our conversation. But
yeah.
Bryan Koutosky, been in the industry since '92, cut it at retail, and went on to Monster Cable, and then obviously 14 years at Control4, running the builder, the buying group, and the retail channel there, and proud to be part of the Oliver.
I didn't know you were a monster. Very interesting.
Yes. 3 years with Noel is 20 years.
Is as much as anyone can take.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the first time you lost your hair.
But I will tell you that that's what's built into the relationship with Control4 and how they found me in.
Yep. Very good. So OliverIQ, let's talk a little bit more about that launch. And you've got a smart home as a service positioning. Let's try to help our audience understand what that means.
Great. So when I say we, I'm really going to be referring to our whole founding team. Right? Yeah. If Will and Eric were here, and John Epinetter and some of the guys, we'd kind of all be saying it the same way. We looked at the industry over, most of us left Control4 close to 10 years ago. The company IPO'd in 2013. And, there was financial benefits to that, but also different interests, and have been involved in some other parts of the industry like healthcare and other parts of tech. And as we looked at what had continued to happen, first of all, almost all the manufacturers are creating IoT devices now that may use any one of a number of connectivity protocols, not just Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the old Zigbee, Z-Wave, Thread, Matter, whatever the different ways to talk to each other. But what seems to have happened, at least the high-end market still seems well served. Control4, Crestron, Savant, others that play in that space. But what about the other 90% that people continue to ask? What will it ultimately take for people buying, the people that have bought the 110 million smart speakers in North America, to have a really integrated, nicely controlled home? Because what most people have today now are back to 10 different apps in your home folder on your phone. So we set out to address that problem.
And I would just add that, if you think back to our early days at Control4, iPods weren't even around. So that's how fast the market has shifted. I think Amazon and Google have served it well from a, voice speaking, but nobody has solved the complexity of consumers continuing to add their devices to the system, and that's where OliverIQ shines. So it's a different strategy in this space.
And dig in on as a service.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
Yeah, so in the prior day, it was not just us, but almost any provider in this space, and even subsets of this space, like multi-room audio, or distributing video and other media around the home. It was almost always proprietary hardware. So we, back in the day, would sell you our lighting, our thermostats, our speaker points, our touch panels, whatever the case may be. And that's just not the way consumers are behaving today. Whether they're buying at big box retail or whether they're buying online, they're buying what they want. And they want this brand of thermostat and this brand of lighting and whatever. So saying it as simply as we could, we're trying to give you that single manufacturer type experience as far as integration and these devices knowing about each other, but delivering that with a monthly subscription revenue, smart home as a service, with all the different products that you want.
And I'll elaborate on that too. If you look at the industry you have a custom integration channel, you have the security channel, and then the DIY channel. And security, I think, gives a light automation play, but customers are dropping their security subscriptions at an alarming rate because they don't see the value. If they didn't have an emergency at their house, if they didn't have something happen at their home that was tragic, they don't see the use case for it. On the bottom side, with DIYers, they're having a very difficult time getting their devices to integrate together. And so we think there's a tremendous value in the subscription model that allows consumers to be able to get support that they've always wanted at the DIY space and get the value out of the security space. And builders are right in the center of all that.
I think when we're in the industry, in the trades, and we hear as a service, our minds jump to subscription, recurring revenue. These are like
expensive,
well, they're magical
words.
terms from a business perspective. But I look at as a service in terms of how you guys are deploying it as a service to the consumer, right? That we have a lot of untended business in terms of the user experience, right? In terms of not being prepared to do the troubleshooting and fixing that inevitably is going to happen with anything that people use as much as these smart home systems.
And frankly, that's a little bit, I'll say it politely, but that's a little bit of the dirty secret of our prior category.
I call it the crazy ant in the basement. That the user experience is, well, I don't know.
Yeah, but even
with no offense to anybody's crazy ant,
but not just the user experience, but getting them serviced. Because the dynamics of the high-end integration space is that pick a number. If you put in a $35,000 system or a $75,000 or 3x that system in a multi-million-dollar home, that integrator is off doing their next $75,000 install, and the last thing they want to do is roll a truck back to your house to fix your $49 light switch. So what's wrong with that, and how do we finally get out of that? So I'll be so bold, John, as to say we really mean the word smart home as a service. And if we're not delivering the experience that the consumer thought they were buying or that they really want, that's on us. Like, we'll own that with them, and we really mean it.
And early on, we looked at the monsters in the industry, right? So you have Amazon, and Amazon's where you go to buy product. Google's where you go to search product. OliverIQ becomes where you manage all of those products in your home, right? It's really a manager for the entire home backed by the service.
So that as a service piece, first of all, you got the strategic intent, you got connectivity is part of that, cloud connectivity is part of that equation. And then the subscription, which may be a dirty word to the consumer, but it's really how we finance actually doing the support and service, right? I mean, that's not a bad thing to do. The alternative is an unfinanced system that's degrading and depreciating in value to the consumer over time.
Well, and when they hear that they're going to pay less than they've been paying for monitored security for an entire whole home automated system with unlimited devices and the service behind it, there's a bit of a, whoa, are you kidding factor. And that's partly where the technology has come. and partly a little segue into the AI discussion.
And I go to the value part of it. If we can provide the value, it doesn't become a dirty little secret anymore. There's real value there that consumers are willing to spend for.
So let's get into the AI piece, because I think that's really interesting, how much you guys are investing in that piece to get to that deliverable. What can you tell me?
That's right. And I don't want to be silly, but some of it will be a little proprietary, and so I'll be somewhat guarded. But let's talk first in the area of support and service after the sale. It turns out that AI engines and chat bots are good at some things and not good at other things. The things that they're really good at is instantly searching databases that they've been trained on and serving up answers to common problems. They can do that faster than humans can do it, and they can do it in any language, and they always do it right. So that's pretty amazing. So we actually have a little personality called Ollie. And so that would be, in a way, our version of Siri, or et cetera. And asking Ollie either some question that you have about the system or something that appears wrong in the system, the very first level of Tier 1 support, we think, we're not going to say 100%, but somewhere between 70 and 80% of the problems can be solved like that. And the great thing about where AI technology is, if we find out that, because we'll be monitoring feedback, that we didn't answer one of the questions, that Ollie didn't answer one of the questions exactly right, we train it on the correct answer, and then from then on, it does.
That's awesome. I hadn't heard that piece before. I mean, it'll be a speech recognition AI.
It will evolve to speech recognition. Originally, it'll be text chatbot at first, but all those pieces are being worked on today, and so they'll be rolled out.
I think that's interesting, just from human factors, and UI engineering is such a fascinating field, and we have to build on experiences that the consumer already has. And to your point, they have that Alexa, Siri, ask what temperature it is, and how many people live in X country when the argument comes up. And so they're used to asking for information from those sources. They haven't had such great experience asking for things to be done for them on those sources. But if something else answers the home issues, the home system related issues, if a brand really got built there, a persona really got built there, that was the problem solver. And we got a lot of problems, right? We got a lot of problems on the DIY stuff, that people bought stuff and then they just got deeper and deeper into the woods and can't find their way out. But I think that's got some true consumer appeal.
We do too. We think so.
A lot of large companies have asked us, after we tell them what we're up to, they say, how can we help? Because they don't have the desire to do the support model at all. And so getting their knowledge bases, getting their troubleshooting guides, and entering that all into the data is only going to accelerate our AI.
There are two parts to it. Part of it is information back at the homeowner, answering a question, providing some insight. Ollie, I already have Leviton lights. If I buy Lutron lights off Amazon, will it work in the system? It'd be a very common question that you would ask an integrator or an installer. And Ollie's perfectly suited to answer questions like that.
Wow.
Because I got instant access to the knowledge bases from Lutron, from Leviton, from OliverIQ to be able to parse together and piece together.
And your experts are working through the reality of that, and not just what's said on the internet broadly, which is, you could ask the same question to Alexa and they might get an answer, but it's not really authorized and curated information.
No, these are on our curated database. It's knowledge base for sure. And then the second part of it, where it's definitely going, is to problem resolution. There's no doubt. Because again, some of those things like, I'll reboot that for you.
Yeah. And kind of to date, we've have limited use of AI. Most of what's apparent to the consumer is a speech interface to the standard system controls, right? And so this is an entirely different deployment, kind of at the root problem that has been not addressed well because it's a big and difficult problem,
Yeah,
right?
but there are now starting to be in multiple industries, and we intend to be one of the first ones to shine it here.
Yeah.
But there's started to be some real economic viability of people reducing call centers by 70, 80% because of the AI intelligence,
Yeah.
and delivering what you would hope and expect, even improved customer sat.
Sure.
There's not a diminishing.
And the people who are there to answer questions are doing more interesting work. They're
training.
digging in on stuff that's beyond the known
That's right.
kind of rote tasks.
Yeah,
that
no,
could
there will
be
still be an
handled.
escalation,
Yeah.
tier 3, people sitting back in our cubes going, oh, here's a humdinger.
Yeah.
And figuring out, oh, let's train that up on Ollie, but let's also solve the problem right now.
Yeah.
So I started deliberately with support because, to your understanding, that's one of the big challenging areas for broad adoption.
Yeah.
But now let's bring it back to user experience. For sure, there are things that we'll be able to, by interacting and usually with voice interface with our home, to say things like, hey, Ollie, for tomorrow morning, do this on my wake up.
Yeah.
Or when I get home tonight, instead of this, do this.
Yeah.
That will just take kind of what we call the experiences to the next level.
More natural
Or the
language.
Milwaukee Brewers are playing tonight. Set my lights to Brewers colors.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep rubbing this stuff in with the Cubs fan. We had our revenge in 2016.
Attaboy.
So why should builders care?
Yeah, great. So, a couple of things. Obviously, you via this summit for now 10 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously, adoption of technology for selling and adding value to new homes for production builders, for custom high-end builders is not at all new. But there's still been a fair amount of reluctance towards really broad adoption other than some piecemeal solutions. Clearly, some people, some of the even national scale builders have built a nice business with basic technology with some competitors and some providers out there. But I can't even venture to guess what the percentage is right now. One thing that's happening differently, and it's back to that proprietary versus consumer choice, is today's new homeowners, the Gen Zs and the millennials, are bringing their tech with them. So they're bringing their Sonos, they're bringing their smartphones, they're bringing their Nest or somebody else's thermostats and the Ring cameras. I have rental homes. I literally had a tenant recently take his Nest thermostat with him when he vacated my townhome. And so they're gonna want a platform that they can plug into. And if choosing between two builders in reasonably comparable price points, why wouldn't you choose that one?
Yeah.
I would add that I agree 100% with what Glen's saying about people bringing their devices with them. If we rewind the clock 5 to 7 years ago, it was all for builders. The buzzword, like AI is now, was smart home. And builders checked the box saying, I'm now doing smart home.
Right.
With a Ring doorbell.
But when you peel back that onion and you say, the question I ask all the time is, you sell smart home? Yes. What do you put in? I put in a Ring doorbell, I put in a Google Nest thermostat, I put in Leviton light switches, blah, 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 you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I say you sell smart devices, not a smart home.
Yeah.
We need to get education to get these builders to move towards a smart home and bring a platform that allows all those devices to connect together. Because what they're selling today doesn't operate together.
Do you remember, John, when a second ago talking about we'll own the service, I thumped my chest a little bit? We actually also mean that with the builder community who, for the whole 10 years you've been doing this and beyond, have said, when your stuff is as reliable as granite countertops and upgrade carpets, then talk to me. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's their bar. Like, I don't ever want the call.
They never get a
And so
service call.
until you can stand up and say, you'll never get the call,
Yeah.
we've got it. That's the service part of it.
I think that's a key, and more builders care about the ownership experience, and they're not fleeing like they used to after the close and occupancy, because technology is enabling them to have more opportunities after occupancy as well, and they're having a more enlightened approach to this, right?
They or their integrators.
Yeah. Whoever it is, it could be trade partners of various, in retailers or who have you that are working with that homeowner after close, but they are interested in understanding and enhancing that ownership experience.
And we're seeing, and we're seeing two models, excuse me.
Yeah.
One model is, sort of an adoption or a take rate, which is, here's our basic package, our standard that we're going to put in every home, and here are some upgrades, good, better, best, or whatever. But another model we're starting to see is we're putting it in the whole community. And in fact, the fees are flowing through the HOA. Mm-hmm. And so that's pretty cool, because then the homeowner, it's like getting their common grass watered or, whatever.
Right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. What, any other news that I need to be aware of?
Yeah, so just back to the point of in-market, we're intending to have sort of mid to late summer our first announcements from partners. There's actually one doing a soft announcement today in Canada at an event up there in the security space. But in the coming months, they will be announcing we are entering the market with OliverIQ, with their platform, with our product offering. And then by back to school, we intend to have multiple of those at different sizes. The interesting thing about this model is it can be sort of smaller opportunities, kind of one home or one community at a time, or it could be the big ISPs and telecom providers that are in more than 10 million homes at a time.
Yeah, very good. Well, congratulations on your progress to date.
Thank you.
It's good to have you all back, the band's back together and in the market. I hope you're
Wouldn't have wanted to
it
do
looks
it
like
without
you're
this
having
guy.
fun. It looks like you missed it and you're really working hard on a differentiated solution.
Think so.
Congratulations.
Thanks so much, John.
Okay.
Appreciate it.